2022 is now over and we are in 2023. I mean, that's how time works, keeps on moving forward. But last year, I did want to kind of reflect a little bit on some of the good and bad. I've covered a lot of things throughout the years, and last year, it's one of the first times where I went back and looked at everything I've done and, took a look at all the different news stories that were out there, the games that I played, and I kind of wanted to reminisce a bit about the good and bad of 2022. Kind of hear your guys' conversations and comments on this. Now, obviously, I'm not going to be touching on every big news story or every big game, as that's not typically what I do on my channel. I do have a bigger focus on retro gaming, but also at the same time, I cover a lot of Nintendo Switch stuff and gaming devices that come out, all over the place, all over your face type of thing. But I wanted to kind of quickly talk about a few things. So the good. There was a lot of good that came in 2022, if you know what I'm saying. We got great things like the Atari 50th Anniversary Collection, which I did review that game. And, a lot of people saw my point of view like, hey, this is excellent the way it's been put together. Maybe I don't care about all the games that are on the collection, as there's a lot of duds in my opinion. And it kind of sucks that it couldn't really encompass everything that came out for those systems through Atari, like the Jaguar and the Atari Lynx. Like, it was fairly limited what you got with those. But overall, I think the package was excellent. It was a great bundle for the history of Atari. So that was one of the games that really stuck with me from last year, as far as positive goes anyway. And then we also had stuff like the Cowabunga Collection and Shredder's Revenge, which was amazing. I keep saying it was the year of the turtles type of thing, right? And then one of the other big things, one of the biggest things for a lot of people last year was the launch of the Steam Deck and the dock. The dock came out a little while later, but so many people are really enjoying the Steam Deck. I use mine all the time. I'm always playing this thing, downloading new games. It really got me more into PC gaming, whereas I've always kind of dabbled slightly in PC gaming. I never went like balls deep. I've always played PC games, but I never really okay, let me search out the latest, greatest releases. What are people talking about? What games look great? Like, it would just be very, tunnel vision on certain things, some MMOs and stuff like that. But the Steam Deck really got me to open my eyes and be like, you know what? It's great. I have this handheld. I can buy games for it, through the Steam store, and play them on the handheld. And then I also can play them on every PC that I have. I could play it on my gaming laptop. I could play it on my main PC. So having a Steam library is very versatile. It goes with you. You could, from generation to generation, you get a new computer, you build a new computer, you buy a new computer. You still have that library. The same cannot be said for a lot of consoles out there, right? So the Steam Deck was really what got me loving PC gaming. Like, I'll play games on it and then I'll go to my PC and continue that kind of thing. Absolutely loved the Steam Deck. Then on the opposite end of handheld gaming, which I don't want to say this one is necessarily bad, but we got the Logitech G Cloud. Now, I've been meaning to do an updated video on this because I bought one the day it came out. I did a little first impressions review thing, and I really want to expand on that because I found myself using it a lot. Now, I spent, it was on sale for $300 at the time, which I still think is way more than what it should be to really entice customers. It's a cloud-based, Android gaming handheld. Like, you could play Xbox games on there through cloud, Steam. You have different options. You could play some native stuff as well. And I think over time, I gave it more and more of a chance, and I wound up playing it a lot. Certain Android games, some emulation as well. Like, it does a great job emulating a lot of retro systems. And the biggest thing for me with the Logitech G Cloud that I like is the freaking speakers, man. The speaker, the whole package, just the construction of it. The speakers sound great. I could be sitting there because I've had so many times where my phone has died. And I'm like, man, I was watching YouTube or I was playing a game or doing something, right? And I'll get the G Cloud out and just continue doing what I was doing. And them speakers really sound great, man. The screen looks great. Holding it in my hands feels great. but that price. I don't like sitting there trying to justify my purchases, and I still stand by it. It's not worth the price. If they launched this thing at like $200, that would have been cool, man. A lot of people would have jumped on board with it. It would have been way more competitive, you know, being a competitor to other handhelds out there, because if people are just looking for a handheld at $350, they keep bouncing it back and forth, $300 to $350. At that price point, you're at the Nintendo Switch. You're very close to the the smaller capacity Steam Deck. I know they're all different devices with different capabilities, but there's a lot of crossover with what you can do with each of these devices. To me, it just doesn't make sense at the price. If it was at 200, 150, maybe eventually it'll go down to that. And when it does go down to that, I would highly recommend buying one. But then you have stuff like the Razor's Edge coming out, which we've talked about as well. But moving on. I think that was pretty much most of the stuff I wanted to talk about as far as the good. Oh, the other thing, OpenFPGA for the Analog Pocket. The launch of OpenFPGA with all these cores for this thing was freaking amazing. Playing TurboGrafx, Super Nintendo, that really brought this out. Like I love the device, but having OpenFPGA with Neo Geo, TurboGrafx, Sega Genesis, all the the systems that this covers already, Game Gear, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, I thought was awesome. So that kind of rounds out my good list. But then to piggyback on the Analog, the bad of 2022, Analogue did announce that they were no longer going to be making their Super Nintendo or their Genesis clone consoles. So they have a final run of these, right? Pre-orders went live at the end of October, and they're still available. They're still available to be pre-ordered, but they ship Q4 of 2023. So it looks like, I don't know what their stock is looking like or how they're doing this, but there's still, availability to pre-order them. You're just going to have to wait a while. But then it begs the question, if they're not going to continue making those, what are they going to rely on? Just the Pocket itself and the dock that they make for it and all the accessories? Well, they had another device that they announced, the Analog Duo, the TurboGrafx PC Engine, plays the Hue cards and CDs. And the website listed, hey, it's coming out in 2022. We didn't hear jack shit at all for this thing. And then they just updated their website not too long ago to say coming 2023 instead of 2022. So I know a lot of people are looking forward to that as well. But yeah, I think the no longer like, okay, we have a final run of Super Nintendo or Genesis. It's kind of bad news, like if you missed out or whatever, but they're still available. But you have to understand, they take your money up front. You have to wait a hell long time to get it. The shipping charges are crazy. However they decide to do their business, I guess. Now, as far as other bad news, Cobra Kai 2, that was when I live streamed and I played it. I think I did like a little short on it. Now, I'm not saying like I was extremely looking forward to this game. I wasn't. I had my expectations in check. Like, okay, it's not going to be great. Or I didn't think it would be great. But then when I played it, I was like, this has so much potential. But then the game was full of bugs and game-breaking glitches. Even on PC, I played it on a Switch, and then I played it on PC as well. Obviously, it looks better on PC. But even on PC, there's problems. Like, you can't exit the desktop. Like, there's no options. It's just ridiculous. But you would get stuck at the All Valley tournament if you knocked your opponent too far out of the ring. And that still hasn't been fixed because I've replicated it numerous times. They would fall through, die, and just disappear into the I don't know, the nether realm. I have no idea. Then the game would break and you couldn't play anymore. There are other bugs like that. I don't know how companies can release games at any point that has these game-breaking glitches and bugs. I don't think it's been updated because I've played it just like a week ago and the problem was still there. I don't know. I get tired of it. These games that come out and they're just cash grabs, man. Cash grabs. I played a few cash grabs this year. Another one would be the new Joe and Mac Caveman Ninja. I had high hopes for this and I hated it, man. I hated it. And then, going back to the other stuff that was retro related on new consoles, the Cowabunga Collection and Shredder's Revenge was amazing. Okay, so let's wrap this list up, or the bad news side of things, with a couple platforms that have failed or continued to not prove themselves. And then we'll get to one of my biggest disappointments of 2022. But first up, real quick anyway, Google Stadia shut down. They issued refunds for purchasers of hardware and whatnot. I got my refunds from it. It was something that I covered and didn't really see the appeal, but some people got use out of it. But it's Google. A lot of people foresaw that it was going to be shut down, and eventually it was. Hey, I mean, is it too soon for a platform like that to exist? Is that the future of gaming? I think that's what they were hoping for, but it just didn't catch on. Now another platform or a console. The Intellivision Amico. 2022 is a big year for the Amico as far as more BS, I guess you would say. It still doesn't exist, all right? GameStop canceled pre-orders this year. I remember they were sending out emails like, hey, we're getting ready to ship your stuff, your Amico, and people got like, whoa, what's going on here? Sweet, it's finally happening. But it didn't. They sent out those emails and they canceled your orders, that kind of thing. In television, they also had that Start Engine crowdfunding go on. That failed as well. Tallarico stepped down as CEO. And then they increased the price of the console. So, yeah, they fired a bunch of people this year. They downsized, and they still have nothing to show for it. It's just the way it is. 2023, are we going to finally see the Intellivision Amico? I've kind of moved on. I canceled my pre-order. I don't even give a shit. If they sell it in like GameStop or Best Buy and it's sitting there, maybe I'll grab one. But I'm not giving them any money, like not straight to Intellivision. I'll go through a reseller type of thing, right? If it does come out, just to share, my opinions with it, the damn greeting cards they were selling. It's ridiculous, man, but I'm done with that. My biggest disappointment of this year, Chocobo GP for the Switch. Oh my God. This released, they had a light version that you could test out, but I bought the physical version. If you bought the full version or physical version, whatever, it was a $50 game. And it had free-to-play monetization implemented into it. This was a game that should have just been put free-to-play to begin with, not sold to anybody. They had season passes, 3 different in-game currencies. Ridiculousness. I was disappointed as I loved the PlayStation 1 version of this game, and I was extremely hyped. This was one of the games I was really hyped for this year. And I was very let down. Season passes and all this currency crap, and it was boo-boo, man. It was unfortunate that they went about it that way. But guess what? I guess people didn't buy into it, and Square has ended support for the game. They're removing the sale of the currency. No new characters or maps are being added ever again. And this is just 9 months after the game released. So the whole monetization scheme is gone. You can look at this as a good or a bad thing, but they're just not going to support the game anymore. Now, if you have the unused Mithril, the paid-for currency that you purchased, you have to use it before January 6th. That's just a few days away from the recording of this video. And after that, that currency becomes invalid. And guess what? There are no refunds, fool. So if you bought that Mithril, they are not giving you your money back. Don't do no chargeback on Nintendo. Don't do no chargeback. Like, oh, I need to charge back or report whatever. Because Nintendo will ban your freaking account. You just got to swallow those losses, man. You just got to gulp it down and be like, I got screwed if you don't use it. But yeah, unfortunate. I hate when stuff like that happens. And I'm sure you guys could share some of your thoughts with that as well concerning games you were hyped for and were really let down with when it finally came out. And that was one for me. Like, I'm still hurt. I'm hurting inside. I'm losing sleep, crying every night because they fucked this game up. Damn Square Enix. They keep doing these weird things, man. The way they did the Pixel remasters, physical editions for the Switch and PS4. The list can go on and on. We could talk days of all the good and bad, but I just wanted to kind of narrow this down to a few things that were like, that popped out to me. So let me know what you guys think. Really do appreciate y'all. Bye.